Welcome to today's deep dive. We're going on quite a journey today, folks, through humankind's incredible story.
Buckle up.
Yeah. Exploring where we came from, where we are now, and we'll even glimpse where we might be headed.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah. And our guide for this adventure is Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind.
Great book.
It's a book just absolutely bursting with insightful ideas, and we're here to break down the key takeaways for you.
That's right.
Ever wonder what would shock your hunter-gatherer ancestors most about our modern world?
That's a great question to kick things off. It really highlights how much we take for granted about our place in history. We often think recorded history is where it all began, but humans, Homo sapiens, have actually walked this earth for about 2.5 million years.
Whoa.
It's mind-boggling to think about that vast stretch of time before written records even existed.
That really puts things into perspective. So for most of those 2.5 million years, were we basically just another species of animal?
For a significant portion of that time, yes. But around 70,000 years ago, something remarkable happened. The cognitive revolution.
Okay.
This is where sapiens began to differentiate themselves dramatically from other animals.
What sparked this revolution? Was it some sudden, burst of genius?
Harari links it to the development of language. But not just any language. It's the ability to communicate about things that don't physically exist.
Like?
Concepts like gods, nations, and even corporations.
Oh, okay.
This power to create imagined realities, to share those beliefs and build upon them, is uniquely human.
I see.
And became the cornerstone for large-scale cooperation.
So you're saying our capacity to believe in things we can't see or touch, like democracy or even a company, is what enabled us to form these complex societies?
Exactly.
That's a pretty radical idea. But how did this actually work in practice? Did early humans have ways to enforce these shared beliefs, these imagined realities?
That's where things get really intriguing. One fascinating example is the Sungir burial site in Russia. It dates back 30,000 years and offers compelling evidence of social hierarchy and symbolic behavior, suggesting a complex understanding of their imagined reality.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more about this Sungir site.
Imagine a society of mammoth hunters. Now, picture a grave at the site containing a man adorned with roughly 3,000 ivory beads, a hat embellished with fox teeth, and numerous bracelets. Contrast this with other graves containing far fewer goods. This difference points towards social stratification even in those early days.
Wow, that's a clear sign of social structure. But what really caught my attention in Harari's book was the description of the two children buried head to head.
Yeah.
It seemed like such a poignant detail.
Absolutely. Those burials are incredibly moving and significant. The boy and girl were adorned with over 10,000 ivory beads. Each bead would have taken an estimated 45 minutes to craft.
Wow.
Imagine the time and skill invested in creating those adornments, not to mention the intricate social implications.
It's mind-blowing. It seems like social stratification wasn't just a feature of later civilizations. It existed in prehistoric times. So we're talking about complex societies with hierarchies, symbolic rituals, and shared beliefs. It makes you wonder how these imagined realities impacted their daily lives, their interactions, their decision-making.
Precisely. It suggests a level of sophistication we often don't associate with early humans. And there's another fascinating aspect to consider, the role of cooking in our development.
Cooking. I have to admit that seems like a bit of a leap.
It might sound strange, but the simple act of cooking food likely played a crucial role in our brain development.
Huh.
Cooked food is easier to digest, leading to shorter intestines.
Ah, okay.
This freed up energy for our brains, which are notoriously energy hungry. So in a way, cooking fueled the cognitive revolution.
So the next time I'm making dinner, I'll be participating in an activity that shaped humanity.
You got it.
That's definitely something to think about while the pasta boils. But if these early sapiens were so sophisticated, didn't they start impacting the world around them in significant ways, for better or worse?
That's a great segue to the next chapter of the Sapiens story.
Okay.
As they migrated out of Africa, they encountered new environments and unfortunately left a trail of extinction in their wake.
This is where the story becomes both captivating and a little disheartening. Harari talks about the extinction of megafauna in Australia and the Americas shortly after sapiens arrived. Makes you wonder if they even grasped the impact they were having.
It's difficult to know for sure, but the evidence suggests sapiens played a significant role in these extinctions, likely through hunting and environmental alterations.
Yeah.
For example, imagine creatures like the giant sloth and the diprotodon, huge marsupials that roamed Australia. They, along with many other large animals, vanished around the time sapiens appeared. It's a sobering reminder of our species' power and the unintended consequences that often accompany our progress.
It seems like a pattern we see repeated throughout history. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's unpack this idea of progress a little further, especially as we move into the next major revolution, the agricultural revolution. That's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive. Stay tuned as we explore how this seemingly simple shift towards farming transformed human societies, for better or worse. Welcome back to our deep dive into sapiens. Last time we left off with humans spreading across the globe, sometimes with devastating consequences for the environment.
Right.
It seems like our capacity for innovation and progress often comes with a hefty price tag.
Yeah.
But the real turning point in human history, according to Harari, is the agricultural revolution.
Exactly.
This shift from hunting and gathering to farming seems like such a fundamental change. But I have to admit, I never really thought about it as a revolution.
It's easy to overlook just how revolutionary it was.
Yeah.
Think about it. Around 12,000 years ago, our ancestors made the fateful decision to settle down and cultivate crops. This seemingly simple shift had a profound impact on every facet of human existence.
Really?
It led to the rise of villages, then bustling cities, and eventually powerful empires. It even transformed our diets, social structures, and our relationship with nature itself.
It's amazing to consider how this one change set the stage for the world we live in today.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that it wasn't all sunshine and roses, right?
Right.
Harari argues that, for many, agriculture was a bit of a luxury trap. What exactly does that mean?
It's a fascinating concept. Essentially, he suggests that while agriculture allowed for greater food production and larger populations, it didn't necessarily translate to an easier or happier life for individuals.
Really?
Many traded the relative freedom and diverse diets of hunter-gatherers for longer work hours, a reliance on just a few staple crops, and increased vulnerability to disease. Imagine those early farmers toiling endlessly in the fields, battling pests and droughts, their very survival precariously dependent on a limited number of crops. It was a stark contrast to the flexibility and variety of their hunter-gatherer ancestors' lifestyle.
That does make you question this whole idea of progress.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes what appears to be a step forward can lead to new challenges and limitations. It almost sounds like a cautionary tale for our modern lives.
Yeah.
We have all these time-saving devices and technologies, but are we actually working less? Or are we just filling our days with more tasks and commitments? It's like we've fallen into our own version of the luxury trap.
It's a compelling parallel, isn't it? It makes you question what we truly value. If we zoom out and connect this to the bigger picture, it challenges the very notion of progress. Is it simply about accumulating more stuff and working more efficiently? Or is there a deeper, more meaningful measure of progress that we need to consider?
Those are some profound questions that deserve our attention. But let's get back to Harari's narrative for a moment. With the rise of agriculture and larger settlements, humans needed new ways to organize themselves and interact with each other. This is where the story of money, empires, and religion comes into play, wouldn't you say?
Precisely. These larger, more complex societies required sophisticated systems of exchange, mechanisms for maintaining order, and shared beliefs to bind people together. Imagine a world without money. How would you trade your apples for a pair of shoes if the shoemaker isn't hungry?
Right.
Barter systems are inherently inefficient, especially as societies grow larger and more specialized.
So money emerges as a solution to this problem.
Exactly.
It's incredible to think that something as abstract as money became so central to human civilization. It makes you realize just how innovative our ancestors were.
It truly is, and the earliest known form of money is just as fascinating. Around 3000 BC, in Sumer, they used barley as currency. Interestingly, this coincides with the invention of writing, both emerging as solutions to the complexities of increasingly intricate societies.
It seems like both writing and money revolutionized how humans stored and exchanged information and value. But just like agriculture, money wasn't without its downsides, was it?
Indeed. While it fostered trust and cooperation between strangers, it also had the potential to erode traditional values and community bonds. Think about the way money can create inequalities and fuel competition. It's a powerful force with a dual nature.
It's fascinating how something that started as a practical solution to a problem could have such a complex and multifaceted impact on human society. And alongside money, we see the rise of empires, which often came about through conquest and the desire for resources.
Empires, for all their flaws, played a crucial role in unifying vast territories and populations. They facilitated the exchange of ideas, technologies, and cultures. It's important to remember that for most of history, empires were the norm, not the exception.
Huh.
The peace we enjoy today is a relatively recent phenomenon.
That's easy to forget. It's also important to remember that history is rarely black and white.
Right.
There are always multiple perspectives and consequences to consider. And speaking of unifying forces, we can't overlook the impact of religion on these developing societies.
Absolutely. Religion has been another powerful force in shaping human societies and providing a sense of meaning and purpose. It's fascinating to note that not all religions were universal and missionary like some of the major religions we see today. Many ancient religions were localized and exclusive, focusing on specific deities and rituals.
That challenges our assumptions about what religion is and how it functions in society. It seems like religion is a diverse and evolving phenomenon, just like everything else in human history. So we've covered a lot of ground here, from the cognitive revolution to the agricultural revolution, the rise of money and empires, and the influence of religion. But our journey through Sapiens isn't over yet. Next time, we'll delve into the scientific revolution and explore how it shaped our modern world and the exciting and sometimes daunting possibilities that lie ahead. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into Sapiens. It's been quite a journey, from those early hunter-gatherers to the vast empires and complex systems we talked about last time. Now we're stepping into a period that fundamentally reshaped our understanding of the world, the scientific revolution.
Yeah, what's fascinating about the scientific revolution is that it wasn't solely about acquiring new knowledge. It was about acknowledging our ignorance and embracing the unknown. It's a shift in perspective that had a profound impact on the course of human history.
So instead of clinging to the idea that we already possessed all the answers, like many pre-modern cultures did, we began to admit there was a vast amount we didn't know. That seems like a pretty radical shift in thinking. Did that make people uncomfortable?
It certainly challenged established ways of thinking, but this embrace of not knowing was incredibly powerful. It opened up the possibility of groundbreaking discoveries, of questioning long-held truths, and of using observation and mathematics to explore the universe in a systematic way. It was a move away from blind faith towards evidence and experimentation.
So it wasn't just about accumulating knowledge, it was about using that knowledge to understand and even change the world around us.
Yeah.
It seems like the scientific revolution provided the foundation for so much of what we take for granted today.
Absolutely. Think about the remarkable advancements in medicine, technology, and our understanding of the cosmos. The scientific revolution paved the way for everything from antibiotics to space travel. It's mind-boggling to consider the ripple effects of this shift in thinking.
Speaking of mind-boggling, Harari mentions a fascinating early example of scientific thinking that I'd never heard of before. The Scottish Minister's Widows Fund.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like something straight out of a history textbook, but I'm guessing it's much more interesting than that.
It's a remarkable story. In the early 18th century, two Scottish ministers, Webster and Wallace, used statistical analysis to predict life expectancy and create a pension system for ministers' widows and orphans. They were pioneers in applying scientific thinking to social challenges.
So they were using data and statistical models to solve real-world problems.
Yeah.
That's pretty ahead of their time, would you say?
Absolutely. They understood that by pooling resources and utilizing statistical predictions, they could provide financial security for families even after a minister's death. It was a groundbreaking use of scientific principles to address a social need.
It makes you realize that the scientific revolution wasn't just about abstract theories or lofty ideas. It had tangible implications for people's lives. But of course, no revolution comes without its challenges. Harari also warns about the potential downsides of scientific progress, right?
He does. He raises critical concerns like ecological degradation, climate change, and the potential for creating a society marked by unprecedented inequality. It's the double-edged sword of progress. We have the capacity for amazing things, but also for immense harm.
It's a crucial point.
Yeah.
It seems like every leap forward often comes with unforeseen consequences. It makes you wonder, what does real progress look like?
Yeah.
Is it simply about extending our lifespans and accumulating wealth and power? Or is there a more balanced and sustainable approach that considers the well-being of all humans and the planet itself?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And as we grapple with these complex issues, we can't ignore the looming presence of artificial intelligence.
Right.
Will AI surpass human intelligence? Will it render us obsolete? These are questions that both fascinate and frighten us.
It's like we've come full circle.
Yeah.
We began by discussing how our capacity to believe in imagined realities set us apart from other animals. And now we're facing the possibility of creating a new imagined reality,
Mm,
a world dominated by artificial intelligence.
right.
It's a bit unsettling, to be honest.
It's definitely a thought-provoking concept. It underscores the importance of understanding history, of learning from the past to make informed decisions about the future. We aren't merely passengers on this train of history. We have agency, the power to shape the future for ourselves and all of humanity.
That's a powerful reminder. So where does this deep dive into Sapiens leave us? What are the key takeaways we should carry with us?
I think it leaves us with a profound sense of responsibility. We are the inheritors of an incredible story. A story of innovation, adaptation, both progress and destruction. And now it's our turn to write the next chapter.
And as we write that next chapter, perhaps we should reflect on the question Harari poses at the very end of his book. If history doesn't move towards greater happiness, then what is the point of all this progress? It's a question that transcends material wealth and technological advancement. It's a question about the fundamental values that guide our choices and the kind of world we want to create.
It's a question we each need to grapple with, both individually and collectively. A question I hope stays with you long after this deep dive ends. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep imagining the possibilities. The future of humanity is in our hands.